Welcome to this match play battle report between the Votann and the Black Templars. We'll be going through the armies and some slides and some pictures of the game, so let's just check it out and see what we can learn. So this is my 1k Votann army. Basically it's the combat patrol, and then I picked up some units that I think are good. I really like the Hearthguard, they're just the big chunky Terminator dudes. So I've got 2 units of those running with an E-champ in each of them, as well as a Sagittar. And they just generally kind of back everything up. They provide the real punch of the list, and then I've got the Sagittar splitting up the Hearth Kin, I want to say. I'm still getting used to all these names of Votann. They've got some absolutely daft names, the Plasma, Ecan nonsense. But yeah, this is what I've got basically. It's all on the screen here. When I deployed, there was smoke and mirrors, which let us put units back into reserves after deployment. So that ended up being a unit of Hearthguard, the ones with the plasmas. I deployed them like kind of weirdly at the back where they were out of the way, and just to get an extra kind of drop and learn more about where my opponent was deploying across from me. But generally we're on the kind of those funny L-shaped deployments. So I scouted up the Jaegers into the middle, quite cautiously though, because Black Templars are very killy, just hoping to score some points early. The rest of the guys are just kind of taking cover behind the terrain. Bit of a mix of stuff down at my local club here. And the, what they call the pioneers now, the bikers, they're hanging around at the back just waiting to dip off the board. Kind of using this I think this is, picture is from post-scouting. So after the, I think the Templars went first, and the Votann kind of, the Sagittar scouted to safety, the pioneers scouted backwards. And just generally kind of trying to hold the line, and we'll show the Templars and all their pressure. So this is the Templars. They've got nothing in reserve. They're holding nothing back. They're just going all out. As you can see, they've got the Redemptor just kind of bullying his way forward. He's very tough. I didn't really have a lot in this army that would threaten him too badly, especially at range. I had that las cannon on my Sagittar, but it's very kind of swingy to do any damage to him. And in the bottom corner, there's the Chaplain with some Assault Intercessors with jump packs. Now, he has the Perdition's Edge enhancement, which is really, really cool. It basically gives him an extra attack and an extra AP and strength, depending on which vow he's in. So, generally, he's really scary with that, I think, in this Assault Intercessor unit, because the Chaplain's main weakness is that they're only AP 1. But with all those buffs he's getting, really, really dangerous guy inside that unit. Crammed up into that one big building in the top, there are Eradicators, Sword Brothers, Intercessors of all stripes. It's a real scary building, and I think there's some more Intercessors hiding in the little grey ruin as well. So yeah, quite a on the line, sort of forward pushed deployment from the Templars, but they've got a lot of good units here, so you understand the aggression from them. The Templars picked the 6-up Shrug vow, which I think was a good shout. It really helps with their durability, just generally against the Votann. Like I have a lot of shooting and a lot of melee just all over my army, so it helps them hang in there. So with my judgment tokens here, I figured I didn't pick the Redemptor as my target because I figured if anything was going to be killing a lot of my army, it would be the Redemptor, so he would kind of get his own judgment tokens. So I put them on the jump pack Intercessors and the Chaplain because they're very aggressive. I need to deal with them early. As well as on the Sword Bros. Because I knew they don't have any shooting like the Redemptor, so they're unlikely to stack up tokens as fast as him. So that was kind of the decision. At 1,000 points you only get 2 tokens, so you have to kind of make these tactical decisions. But yeah, the Templars go first. They shove up with everything, just kind of doing a few actions here and there, and generally just kind of getting themselves staged behind ruins and in position for later things. Now, I did get some good use out of the scout moves, letting me sort of pull back with my bikes, figure out where to put those, as well as the Jaegers kind of hanging around that mid-board. They were very difficult for the Templars to kind of engage, especially in the early turns, because I could always move away and kind of leave them hanging in the wind. So that was quite good. Now, I kind of, the Templars just shoved everything forward turn 1, and I was sort of like, ooh, how do I deal with this? I put my bikes back in reserves, but couldn't really get a good angle on them because the terrain, we were using proper terrain, so it was quite dense. And just sort of, the army's slow. I'm still getting used to that. So it's a real learning curve with Votann. I have it with Death Guard, but I think Death Guard are a little almost more forgiving because the unit, because even though they're slow, their units are a lot sort of stronger, I find, especially with all the detachment enhancements. But still, I pushed up these berserkers. They were kind of sent out there to die, but I was like, well, I've got to do something on this flank in order to just relieve a bit of the pressure and kind of stop that Redemptor from just being in my deployment zone by turn 2. So, again, the berserkers got sent out to die, but I feel like that's kind of what they're best at. So this is what I was talking about here. The Jaegers, they were able to sort of hide in the ruins. We were counting all the windows as closed. So the Jaegers hid in the ruins and they were able to get some actions going early on. Now, the Intercessors did get a few shots off at them, but thanks to the toughness of the Jaegers, they actually survived a lot better than I thought they would. But it was still pretty crazy when it was like 20 shots coming in. Or I think actually maybe one Intercessor, who was the one with the grenade launcher, couldn't shoot. So I got off a bit lightly there. And the Eradicators, they're great against vehicles, but not great against this Votann army because they never really got into their target the whole game. So in terms of scoring, early on, we got Black Templars, they did Cleanse, and I think they got Assassinate as well, which just didn't work for them. And the Votann, we got Secure No Man's Land and Cleanse, so I managed to get a small version of both of those, thanks to the Jaegers, who I absolutely love. I think they're such a great addition to the Votann army. I'm really, I'd find the army a lot harder to play if I didn't have access to that unit for sure. So we went on into turn 2. Secondaries wise, the Templars got Defend Stronghold, which was very easy for them, and Secure No Man's Land, which again, it was something we wanted to do. So that was really, really good. They just kind of barreled forward with all their units. The Jump Intercessors are very fast. The Redemptor got onto that objective to make sure that points were being scored, and everyone kind of just swarmed in around these Berserkers. Now, we're talking about this after the game. They put the Oath on the Sagittar, hoping that the Plasma Cannon could take it out, but it's a bit of a hindsight thing, but the Plasma Cannon ended up whiffing on the Sagittar. You know, it's T10, it's just sometimes it's not going to get a lot of shots, and then it's not going to wound well. So the Sagittar ended up living, despite being the Oath of Moment target. It would probably have been best to put the Oath of Moment on the Berserkers, because despite a load of shooting going into them, just the combination of some bad hit rolls and them having T5 and having to feel no pain, the Berserkers just lived quite well. I think only like the grenade mole launcher thing was the only casualty of that, which then meant the Assault Intercessors with jump packs and the Assault Intercessors all went into them, and they didn't get as many mortal wounds as they might like. So it ended up with like 4 Berserkers being left, and even though only a couple of them ended up fighting on death, the fight on death still killed jump pack Intercessors, which were kind of a valuable thing. So it wasn't great for the Black Templars here, but you know, they killed this unit of Berserkers. They were aggressively pushed forward. Now the Votann, I got Sabotage and Recover Assets for my actions, and I knew I didn't have the resources to sit back and just do that. Like, as you'll see, there's the Sword Bros, I believe, pushed into the middle, so I had to deal with them. So I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to score on any secondaries this turn, and I think sometimes you just have to be okay with that. So turn 2, the pressure was definitely on. I ended up rapid ingressing my Hearthguard back basically onto my own home deployment zone, which was, you know, a bit of a waste of a command point maybe, but it made the Black Templars think about it and made them quite flexible, and they were in this kind of prime position. I sort of specifically deep struck them so that they could all move through the wall and shoot next turn. So, you know, I always like having a unit in reserves, especially one that's as scary and dangerous as these Hearthguard. So it was kind of good. I felt well about that. One thing I didn't like, and I mentioned it before, is the bikes. They milled around in the back, and I just couldn't get a good angle with them. They were kind of just struggling to come in from reserves well, and they ended up not really shooting in these early turns. So that wasn't the best, but you know, generally I felt like I was handling this pressure quite well, so we'll see a bit more of that now. So you can see in the top corner of the image there, the big unit of Sword Brethren. Now, they got a bit of a bad advance roll, which meant they didn't get as many guys on the objectives as possible. They only ended up with like 1 or 2 guys on it, and not the Ancient, so they couldn't get like the Feel No Pain on the Ancient, which ended up being probably quite big. And I was able to actually use the Jaeger's reactive move, because the Templars advanced, I knew I wasn't getting charged. So I used the reactive move to just get more OC on the point, which I think was a good play in the end. It ended up sort of like stopping them from scoring, allowing me to score, getting the Jaegers out of the way a little bit of my Hearthguard that were about to come counter-charging. But on the bottom side here, the Berserkers just get completely destroyed in combat. Like all of them are just torn to bits. But like I said, they ended up losing some of those Assault Intercessors with jump packs. So, the Berserkers kind of did their job there, which was good. So I was like, turn 2, right, we got to stop these Templars here. They're all in the mid-board. They're all like hung out to dry. I've just got to do my best to do what I can. So everyone just came out. The Carl and his 5 half-kin, they deployed out their Sagittar in the centre and just put all their shots into the Sword Brethren. So did the what they call the Jaegers. Yep, the Jaegers fired into them as well, and just generally rinsed into that unit. Now I ended up not being able to, because of the closed windows, we ended up not being able to shoot into the Sword Brethren with the Hearthguard. They ended up just picking off an Eradicator, I think, which was fine. But generally, I just put everything that I could into the Sword Brethren unit, including like the las cannon. I was like, I could have shot the Redemptor with it, but I just don't think it was worth it in the end, like chipping a bit of damage. And it turned out to be the right choice, because after all my attacks were done, including the melee from the Hearthguard, the impact hits, everything like that, just the Captain was left, which meant he didn't get the extra damage in combat from being part of the Sword Bros unit. The Ancient was gone, so there wasn't like a character in the wind. So yeah, generally I was pretty pleased with that. And then in the bottom corner, those Plasma on the Hearthguard, really, really effective. They cleaned up the Assault Intercessors, just like handily. Just, it's not a lot of volume, but as long as you roll okay. I got pretty lucky on that, I will admit. But then things turned around when they went into combat with the Chaplain, and I thought, oh, it's like a done deal, I put like 3 Hearthguard, including the Champion, and the E-Champ into him. And I thought, right, they'll smush this Chaplain, no problem. Like, it's a done deal. I was actually worried about the 2 Hearthguard not killing the 1 or 2 remaining Assault Intercessors that were on this objective. However, I killed the Assault Intercessors, no problem. A few failed 5-up armor saves, just smushed him. However, the Chaplain just absolutely spikes on his invuns and actually ends up surviving, which was pretty scary and pretty bad, because I think with the way the judgment tokens work in this detachment, because I didn't kill the Captain or the Chaplain, I didn't get any of my bonus command points on turn 3, which was it was pretty rough. But some earlier on they failed a lot of saves. I think he rolled like 7 1s out of 10 dice when I shot into him with various things. So swings and roundabouts, but that Chaplain living was heartbreaking. And this was a real roller coaster of the game in terms of dice. So I counter-punched, but I'd left myself open to the Black Templars counter-attack. So the Redemptor Dreadnought came crashing in and absolutely crushed the Hearthguard. The Chaplain, however, luckily for me, failed his battle shock test, so he didn't want to die to the desperate escape, so he ended up just sticking where he was. Now, this meant that even though the Redemptor crushed the Hearthguard, the E-Champ survived on a single wound against the Chaplain, I believe, and then proceeded to kill him back. So finally that guy went down, which I was really happy about. And this was quite cool, actually. So the Captain, who was a very dangerous guy, he had that Finest Hour ability up. And even with that, he just couldn't kill the Hearthguard, because he was, in theory he's hitting on 2s, but then he's wounding on 4s. I've got 4-up saves, so whatever hits he gets, basically only a quarter of them make it through. So he just ended up killing 1 Hearthguard a turn. So it was quite good, really, to know that they can, even though they've only got 2 wounds, they can really stick in there in combat. So pretty good stuff. But this Redemptor was a serious problem. The Intercessors, we'll look at them later, but yeah, generally it's this Redemptor's causing me a headache. So the Templars had very much sort of shoved all the action onto my side of the field, but they weren't having it their all way. I finally saw my opportunity. I put my bikes back into reserve and had them come back on in their deployment zone, and the idea was, well, they'll kill these Assault Intercessors and take away the sticky objective that the Intercessors had held originally from the Black Templars, and maybe try and knock them down on primary a bit. However, without the judgment tokens, the bikes failed to kill the assault intercessors as hard as I'd like them to. However, luckily I kind of ended up coming out on the top of this scrap. Now, the Black Templars had established Locus and engage on all fronts. I think they ended up not being able to establish Locus, but you know, this is one of those things where like that Ancient not making it onto the objective and then dying because he didn't have his Feel No Pain, he would have been able to do this established Locust easy. So that was quite good for me, really. They also had engage on all fronts, which I think they managed to get. I got establish Locus, which I think I ended up not doing in the end. And in terms of, I got Storm Hostile Objective, which was really good that these bikes came out as well as they did from the combat, because they were able to use the fallback, shoot and charge stratagem to fall back, score me those points, and then mop up the assault intercessors that failed to kill them. So yeah, the Redemptor had come in and killed my Hearthguard, but I still had an E-Champ down there, so I was feeling pretty good. Now, the intercessors, meanwhile, they'd stormed that objective and generally just kind of taken up that point at the top there. It's quite, you know, they'd ran across the board with a few good advances, so they were doing well for the money. The Eradicators tried to shoot the Sagittar, but whiffed. I was lucky there. And the Marshal, or well, Captain I guess he is, carried on fighting the Hearthguard, and they were just kind of, both units were just slogging each other and passing in vuns and, like, you know, doing a couple of wounds to the Marshal, losing a one Hearthguard. However, I was like, right, I've got to kill the Redemptor. He's too much of a problem. So I absolutely just, I went for him with everything I've got. I thought, I'm not going to get him unless I try, so I strung the, what do you call them? I strung the Pioneers, Jaegers. I strung the Jaegers out in the middle, threw grenades at him, chipped a bit of damage there. The Carl shot at him and actually got a lucky Volkite dev wound off on him. That was really, really good. The APM launcher fired, but I think that even did a few damage to him, so that was really good. Just kind of generally, I shot the las cannon at him, but they both failed to wound, so that was no good. All that went in, and then I tank shocked. Didn't get a lot of wounds there. A lot of stuff got shrugged by the 6-up Feel No Pain. The Carl ended up doing like 4 damage to him. I think that was one of the best stuff. And I was like, right, he's down to 5 wounds. Come on, E-Champ. I did the strat for giving him extra AP. So it was really, really good. The E-Champ went in, he got 2 hits, he got 2 wounds because he was hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s with his big hammer. The Redemptor failed the saves. I was like, oh, got him now. And then I rolled 2 ones for damage. And the Redemptor shrugged both of those with his 6-up Feel No Pain, so I didn't even bracket him. And then because he didn't get bracketed, he proceeded to punch the E-Champ's head off and kill the Sagittar. So, it was rough, but Redemptors. I have no luck dealing with Redemptors. So with that failure, I generally decide I'm up on points here. I've generally got a few more kills in terms of kill more for the primary, and I have at least a few more units left. So I just kind of run away from the Redemptor. I'm like, sod dealing with that thing. And just try and kill these intercessors and the Eradicator, which between the bikes, the shooting from the Pioneers and the E-Champ, they've generally got the gas to do it. The Redemptor does fire off a few shots, but he rolls low on his number of shots and doesn't have any CP to re-roll it after sort of having to switch out his secondaries at the beginning of the turn. So it ends up being a sort of a scrum and a shove over the middle, but the Templars end up down on points and everyone just runs away around this corner towards those power generators. So just runs away from the Redemptor and overruns these poor intercessors who have sort of finally made their way into combat. So as a bit of a recap, I thought the game it certainly felt intense. Like the Black Templars were just up all over the mid-board by turn 2 and really kind of threatening to just overrun the Votann. But the Votann, I feel like between the Jaegers and all the kind of like, they have a good like balance of close range shooting and fighting, so they were really able to like bring the counterpunch that they needed to, and then sort of have the durability to last out in these little scraps at the end. But I definitely felt like my army's missing a bit in terms of firepower. I'm not really sure what the best anti-tank in Votann is. I know the Thunderkin, they got a price drop, so I might try and pick up some Thunderkin. Wanting to expand this army up to 1,500, so honestly might include, like, I think like that's something you want: bikes, you want Thunderkin, and you want a land fortress. So I'll have to see what the future holds for this Votann force, but I'm really enjoying them. They've got that new detachment, which looks fine. You know, it's got some trips. I've got a couple of units of Hearthguard, So that'd be nice. The Black Templars, this was their first time playing against the Votann, so they missed out. Maybe, you know, the Berserkers having fight on death, maybe that cost them a bit. But I think, you know, ultimately, perhaps it didn't matter too much, but it might have been better just for those Assault Intercessors with jump packs to charge elsewhere. Maybe capture the Votann home base or something like that with a... But, I mean, who knows? It's all hindsight 50-50, isn't it? Other than that, it was a pretty good game, I thought. It was very scrappy. Turn 2 and 3 were just massive, and then like turn 4, it was both sides like sort of using the dregs of their army. Like there were just intercessors and one eradicator on one side of the board and a redemptor on the other, and there's just a bunch of Votann sort of milling around in the middle trying to escape and not get crushed to death by the redemptor. So yeah, it was a good game. 1,000 points is always a bit swingy, but I think it's a good way to play the game, especially if nobody's trying to like stat check the opponent, which, you know, these were 2 really good armies and really good fun to play. Look forward to more games in the future with them. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope this was you know, something to put on in the background and enjoy. Just a short form battle report. I'm going to try and improve them again. If anyone has any suggestions for what to do better next time, just let us know. I tried to sort of have the secondaries in there, but maybe a more like accurate like running scoreboard with screenshots from the app might be more helpful. I don't know. I don't want these videos to go too long. So with that, see ya. Thanks for watching.